Welcome back, everyone, to Lore with Ludus Infinium, and today I have an interesting little treat. I have the 14th Legion, the Death Guard, one of actually my favorite Trader Legions. So, let's just get into it. So, the first Astartes introduced into the 14th Legion were experts at survival situations and attritional combat. They were considered... I don't really know how to word this, because all Astartes are strong and have a high endurance, but the Death Guard even more so. Much less post-heresy, but pre-heresy they were still considered some of the strongest, and some of the Astartes with the highest endurance in the original 30k legions. And that really reflected in their combat. For instance, for their defense, they would fight to the last, unwavering Astartes against whatever could be thrown at them. For offense, they would do essentially that. They would throw themselves as almost like a tidal wave after wave after wave against their enemies, specializing in close-range assaults and, again, attritional combat. We will fight you to the last man. We have no problem doing this. So, because of their habit of attacking right as the sun was setting, right at dusk, they were given a name by their enemies, and they took it on as their own. They were called the Dusk Raiders. And they were an honorable legion, as well as honoring any agreement for surrender or truce. However, if the time lapsed or they were betrayed, nothing was going to stop them at all. And they also didn't give this option to anything outside quote-unquote humans, be it Xenos, mutant, or degenerate, which technically two of those could fall under human. They don't care. But let's get on to the juicy bits. So, during the Horus Heresy, there are a few things we've got to really talk about that are kind of important. At Isstvan III, the Death Guard, under Mortarion, decided, these Terran-born, who kind of bump heads against us Barbarous-born, are, even though they were here first, they are more loyal to the Emperor than Mortarion. Let's send them down onto the planet and kill them. And I really wish it was a little bit more complicated than that, but that's essentially what it was. So, for those who don't know, and again, I'm going to get into more detail on this in the Primarch video for Mortarion. Mortarion is from the planet Barbarous, so a bunch of the later Astartes in the Death Guard came from Barbarous. In fact, almost a full 2/3. So, he sent, essentially, almost all of the Terran-born onto Isstvan III to their death. Now, something else a little interesting for the Death Guard during the Horus Heresy. Callus Typhon. Yeah. You know what? As much as I love the Trader Legions, this is equally probably one of my favorite stories and one of my least favorite stories of the Trader Legions. Because from the aspect of Typhon, this is a really, really interesting move. From the aspect of literally everyone else, this is a dick-ass move. So, Typhon killed all the navigators and said, hey, I'm a really powerful psyker. I can get us through the warp. Mortarion hated psykers, but he's like, I have no choice. So, essentially, Typhon got them stuck in the warp, to the point to where somebody noticed. And when I say somebody noticed, Typhon basically like, hey, look over here. Hey, look over here. And that someone was Grandfather Nurgle. Now, I did do a video on Nurgle. So we all know about the wonderful blessings he likes to bestow upon people. Well, this was a time when the Death Guard's greatest strength becomes their biggest weakness, their endurance. Nurgle inflicted them with some of his most horrific diseases, and they just wouldn't fucking die. And so, Mortarion, in a bid to save himself and his legion, gave himself his soul and the souls of his legion to Nurgle to save his legion. Because, yes, that's how it fucking works. If only Batman's parents would have done the same thing. Anyway. So, at this point, we get to see the creation of one of Nurgle's favorite playthings. The Plague Marines. Oh, goody, goody, goody. You know, not gonna lie, I really like the Plague Marines, I do, but that does not mean they don't creep me the fuck out. It really doesn't. Because they do. They really honestly do. These are some of the... How do I word this? They're some of the most contradictory creatures in 40k. They literally have open wounds all over them. They have, I mean, fuck it. They have intestine hanging out sometimes, and they're just not fazed by it. Doesn't make them any less cool, but makes it kind of fucking weird. So, at the time of the Death Guard becoming the first Plague Marines, Typhon went through a little bit of a metamorphosis of his own, because Nurgle was really happy with him. You know, he put these vents in his back, made out of bone. And inside flew Nurgle's plague flies. Yeah. I'm going to throw up a little bit of a warning here. Anyone with a weak stomach, you might want to skip ahead probably about a minute. 30 seconds to a minute. The plague flies flew inside of Typhon and ate what was inside him and essentially hollowed him out. Now, how the fuck he's still alive after that? I don't know. Don't really care. So, he became the champion of Nurgle. And he became the host of the Destroyer Hive, which, again, is a literal hive of plague flies living within him. But here's the interesting thing about Typhus. Oh, by the way, he also had a name change at this point to Typhus, because reasons. Typhus always kind of butted heads with Mortarion after this. And I'm going to get into this in a minute, but it didn't really split the Legion, because Mortarion kind of lets him do his own thing, and just be like, hey, I'm going to let you do your own thing, but when I call on you, you better get your ass back here. And Typhus, to an extent, agreed to that. But we're not quite there yet. So, here's something I thought was rather interesting. At Horus's defeat, where other legions ran full on to the Eye of Terror, the Death Guard really didn't. They made more of an orderly retreat, with many loyalists throwing themselves at the Death Guard and just not getting anywhere, because Death Guard. And I thought that was kind of interesting too, because it shows that even though they had been transformed into something so different, they kept almost the same tactics. Yeah. So, let's get in a little bit to the post-heresy part of it. The Plague Wars. I'm going to briefly go over I'm going to make this about as brief as possible, because I could make a whole video on this shit, too. It was an attempt by Mortarion and his Death Guard, and actually other groups of Nurgle, to bring the entire realm of Ultramar under Nurgle's domain in real space. Some wins, some loses, but holy shit, that is a weird fucking read. I don't know why they went after the Ultramarines. Well, I know exactly why they went after the Ultramarines, because who else are they going to attack? Because the Ultramarines are the poster boys. We gotta have them in every fucking thing. Anyway, so back to what I was talking about with Mortarion and Typhus being butting heads every so often on what the Legion should be doing. Oddly enough, though, out of all the traitor legions, the Death Guard is considered one of the most unified, if not the most unified. That's a scary fucking thought. But I digress. So this has been my basics video on the Death Guard. I mean, I'm looking forward to doing the Primarch video on Mortarion, to say the least, and maybe even a character video on Typhus and a video on the Plague Wars. But holy shit. It's still not as much information as it was with the Ultramarines, and that scares me a bit. Because I've still got, 6 more legions to do? But, all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, and you want to support the channel, please subscribe, leave a like, do all the stuff YouTube really wants you to do. Do the notification bell, all that. If you want to be a part of the community, join the Discord. We actually have a bunch of really nice people in the Discord from all different walks of life. They're all really great people. But the most important thing of all, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!